change makers, and welcome to The Core, sponsored by Red Apple EdCo. This is your Everything Education podcast. We talk about current events, books to read. We interview education leaders, hear their stories, learn from their biggest lessons, and they share what they wish you knew about what it means to be in education today. I'm your host, Dr. Kia Turner. Buckle up for small seeds of inspiration that can lead to big changes in your classroom practice. Let's take a bite out of today's guest. It is Dr. Kia, still here at EdCamPredesign at Apache Elementary School in Shawnee Mission. It has been such a great day of kind of teachers and even the education commissioner for Kansas, because he's dope, coming together to kind of talk about what is possible in schools. I also need to apologize to you guys because in the background we have people who are enthusiastically telling each other goodbye, and we're going to have to speak over them just a bit. So if you feel like I'm yelling, I'm just trying to compensate so that you can hear, okay? So in my sessions, I ran into Cassie and Monica, who both happen to be
we were at Turner 6th grade together, so now I'm moving to the middle school, but she's staying.
Oh my! I am taking Cassie's job.
Okay.
But I gave it to her.
You're in the middle of like a transition where you're moving up to 7th grade. You're taking over her previous classroom with 6th grade. So super excited to talk about that. Let's start with what brought both of you to EdCamPredesign.
I just wanted to see what other educators were saying and how they were doing the redesign within their buildings, within their classrooms.
Ooh, good.
And even though it's summer, I feel like because I'm starting something new next year, I'm like super motivated to like, let's go, like, let me hear like what my ideas are so that I can spend some summertime planning. So I want to like get my brain going on new ideas.
Are both of you thinking of taking kind of the stuff we talked about here and trying to implement some of it to the extent that you can in your classrooms even?
I did get a few ideas that I want to take back to my classroom. So
tell us one.
One of them was co-parenting. I think I got that from you.
I like that.
She said to think about teachers and parents, think of it as a co-parent. Like if you call your husband, what would you say about your own child? Say it to the parent. And so I really like that. And so that's something that really stuck out with me today.
Thank you.
I mean, the same thing in thinking about that just because a parent doesn't reach out or doesn't respond to your first email, it doesn't mean that.
Or second or third.
Yeah, it doesn't mean like, okay, well, I've tried and you're done. Just because they didn't in August doesn't mean, well, now it's October and circumstances have changed and I have more time and now I'm more interested. And so keep reaching out to the people, even though it may be frustrating.
I love that. And we were in some really good sessions focused around parent engagement, quite frankly, and thinking about different ways to get parents involved and how to make that meaningful for them instead of just saying, we sent you the newsletter, we sent you the email, we sent you the auto dial, which is my personal you know what I mean? I do not like the auto dial because I get them. It's like, stop it. So anyway, that's the context for what we're talking about. So I'll start both of you off with my standard question. Why do you teach? And what I really mean by that is, what is it that causes you to like get up every day, come in the summertime to like keep persisting in this work? What is it?
For me, it's just the students and seeing the aha moments that you create for them. And I have to keep learning so that I can keep creating those aha moments because things keep changing.
Oh, that was really good.
Yeah, and teaching is fun for me because it changes so often. And like I like to try out new things and I'm a perfectionist, so I like to make things better. So like if I was just teaching the same thing every single day, every year, that wouldn't be fun for me. Mm-hmm. So getting to try new things out and get the kids' feedback and see how it goes is like the fun part of it for me.
I agree. I always think that education is something you have to have the heart for, but that it's also the profession for creatives. Because if you can conceive of something, you can try that in your classroom. And if it works, then you get a book deal and write about it and travel and speak. But you really have an opportunity to innovate and kind of make it what you want it to be depending on your setting. So that's awesome. Number 2, what is one thing you're doing in your classroom or in your education practice right now that excites you, that you're like, ooh, I'm so glad to be doing this or so ready to try this?
I think we're both excited about the same thing, right? That we're both doing something new too. Like we both are very excited about technology, but we both get to do something new. So Monica's is not necessarily a new class, but she's never taught it before.
Just look at them. Hey,
and Monica has never taught it before. So it's new for her. And then my class, I've never taught before. And in some ways I'm restructuring it. So it's kind of like a new year for both of us teaching something that we really love to do.
And I really love tech. And so I'm excited to focus on tech, have that be the focus of my class.
So. Ooh, what's one new tech thing you want to do in class?
I'm really interested in the digital citizenship piece of what my class will be about. Because
Yes,
I think,
yes.
especially at sixth grade, our kids really need the digital citizenship piece of technology.
What's one thing you're excited about moving to seventh?
Well, a couple things come to mind. One thing is looping. I have never looped before, and so these will be my same kids I had this year. So I'm really excited to like see how that plays out, and then also getting the chance to see my kids more often, so that we can go a lot deeper with things. Where instead of just like I got to show them these fun things, and like that was great, but now we get an extra opportunity of like these things that I've always wanted to try this, but we haven't had the time.
Yeah.
Now I do get to try those new things.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so then 3 is, what's one resource you think every educator should know about?
My go-to resource will be Seesaw, just because I enjoy using Seesaw.
I
in
like
my
Seesaw
classroom.
too.
It
Yeah.
allows the kids to practice that digital citizenship piece, and it also lets you connect with parents.
Ooh.
I mean, I feel like Twitter is one that people say a lot, but it's the same if you're trying to be an innovative person. That's going to be really difficult if you isolate yourself in your school, especially if you teach something like we do, which is an elective. We are the only people in our building that teach it. So it's hard to find new things and collaborate with people within our district. So you have to reach out to other people. And that's the way you find out about events like this and connect with educators that could develop a relationship beyond that.
I would also add conferences. I agree. I definitely think that Seesaw is a resource every teacher should be taking advantage of, or any platform like it that really lets you to let parents in, and Twitter. We do get that a lot on the vlog, y'all know. But then I think another one would just be, even if you are like, I'm Twitter clueless, go to a conference even. Like, go to something that's in your field of expertise that's going to expose you to other people doing it, okay? Because I know it's different strokes for different folks, but the point is to get outside of your box, right? I would agree. So then what's your last aha moment as a professional? Like where you were like, whoa, I get it. Or, oh, this is great. I see how this all comes together.
My last aha moment would be when we did Genius Hour. We actually you're
one of the first people that have done that. Tell
Genius
us.
Hour. And so what my aha moment was, I was helping a student who was already good at drawing, and she wanted to draw. And I was like, okay, no, she can't just draw, because she wanted to give up because she didn't feel like she was learning anything. I'm like, no, how can I help her take this to the next level? So then we talked about watermarking her work. And then once she started researching it and she figured out what it was, then I was like, this is Genius Hour. So now I understand the process and how it should work. So
that's awesome.
And I would pick one from today. So listening to Dr. Watson talk, one of the things he was talking about was like how we're redesigning schools. And I think as a teacher, like I think of redesigning schools, but like within the boundaries that I already know. And then he's talking about things like, well, kids can just come for 6 hours and they badge in when they get there.
Right.
And they decide their own things. And like as an educator, you're like, what? I mean, it's so far.
Yeah.
To me, it's like saying like, we're going to have school on the moon now. And like, it's just so far beyond. And like, it's hard to open your mind up that much. But then when you think about, oh my God, that opens up so many possibilities, it becomes really amazing.
I like the idea that he said, and you guys, I periscope this part, I think, but he said, the problem isn't whether or not teachers can change their classroom. It's that structurally we need to rethink the way that schools are run. Yes. And provided in a more open way that's going to address more learners. We're not going to get there just classroom by classroom. We need to change the structure of schools overall. It was awesome, but he's #awesome. We already know that. So then in closing, number 5, in a few words, what do you think every educator should know? Like one message you would push out there, or maybe a message you needed to hear at a point in your career that you're like, oh, somebody should have told me that.
So something that I always remember from college, our professor, she always said, the parents send you the best student they have at the time. And so for us as educators, we need to take what they send, who they send us, and do what we can and have fun.
I love that.
I mean, I think especially as we're looking into next year, just thinking about the foundation of everything that you do is going to be caring about the kid and having a relationship with them. And we think of like having a relationship as this big thing about things you see on the news is like, I went out and like, I gave this kid a kidney, whatever. And it can be so simple. And it can be just like literally checking in every day. And if a kid tells you, I'm going to see my mom this weekend, if you say on Monday, like, hey, did you have fun with your mom? And they're like, what? Like those very simple things can build relationships, and you'll get back so many dividends in classroom behavior and classroom engagement that it's worth the time you put in.
Thank you for that. So if we want to keep up with the two of you and kind of watch your space to see what you're doing next, do you have Twitter handles you'd like to share or other ways that you'd like people to contact you? And I will put those below the video, FYI.
Yes, my Twitter handle is @Roland, ROLAND, Teach, TEACH.
And you can find me on Twitter at I am Mrs. Nix, MRSNIX.
Thank you very much. You guys have been great. See you guys next time.
That's all we have for today. Thank you for listening to The Core. Wherever you are listening to us, be sure to like our show, subscribe, and share the episode that's meant the most to you. We appreciate every single one of our subscribers, as do our sponsors. We look forward to seeing you next week. You can also check us out on YouTube at Red Apple EdCo if you'd like to see more video of these conversations. We have them posted there.